welcome back. Again, my name is Second Lieutenant Flood, and moving forward with our series, today we're going to be talking about the Civil War. So let's begin by talking about a little background information. So without getting too far into the weeds, let's pretend that we are living in a time when the U.S. is becoming more divided between states that want to liberate slaves and ensure that they have freedom and make them a part of the rest of the citizenry, and states that see this liberation of slaves as kind of an infringement on their rights and their property, and they want to keep slaves as a status quo intact. And this is causing a big rift between the northern part, which wanted to free slaves, and the southern part, which did not. So we're living in this time period. It's very divided, and all of a sudden there comes a point where they decide we can't live together, and the South secedes. And inevitably, this is going to be causing a conflict that we know today as the Civil War. So let's get into some of the details of that. So in 1861, April 12th, we're going to be seeing Confederates, which is the part of the country that broke away and became their own independent country, attacking Union soldiers, which is the North. So again, just some background information. Union is North, Confederate is South. These Confederate soldiers attack Union soldiers at Fort Sumter in South Carolina, and this kicks off the Civil War. The Civil War, it's the nation's bloodiest conflict that's been fought on U.S. soil, and it's going to be continuing for 4 years. So it's very violent, it's very personal because it's a civil war, meaning people within the country are fighting each other. Okay, so similar to our previous video, we try to imagine what it would be like to be an Iowan during this time period. So we're living in the Civil War, we're in the state of Iowa, okay? That would make us in which side of the conflict? That's right, it'd be the North, so the Union side. And we decide, okay, we want to ensure that the country remains one, we want to promote freedom for everybody, including slaves that in the South are not technically free. How can we do that? Well, the shortest answer would be to join the cause and to fight in the Civil War on the side of the Union, or the North. So when it comes to the role of Iowa specifically, an important person to mention would be General Samuel Kirkwood. So where does that name sound familiar? For some of you who are juniors, going to be seniors, you may be looking at this as an academic option for the future. It's actually Kirkwood College, named in honor of General Samuel L. Kirkwood, who's actually going to be raising an army of volunteers large enough to meet the president's quota of 1 regiment. So the president had said, okay, Iowa, you need to raise 1 regiment. It was General Samuel Kirkwood that made that happen. Eventually, though, Iowa's going to be going way over that point and producing 48 infantry regiments, 9 cavalry regiments, and 4 batteries of artillery. Also, a fun fact is that Iowa furnished their own African American regiment as to promoting the cause of liberation for all people. When it comes to the role of Iowa, aside from General Kirkwood, there's other important things to note, among them being Medal of Honor recipients. So Iowans, people that have ties to Iowa, we had 27 Medal of Honor recipients. So why is that important to note? Where have you heard of the Medal of Honor before? What does that mean? As you ask your teacher or you do your own research, you realize that today it's the highest achievement that anyone in the armed services could obtain. It's a very honorable award to receive. And it was still honorable at the time of the Civil War. However, it was more widespread. I don't want to say easier to get, but it was more likely that you were to get one because it was one of the very few awards given to military personnel. Another interesting thing to note as you're doing research in the Medal of Honor is you may see a big ceremony where usually they go to the White House, the president gives it to them. From the Civil War and back, this was not even heard of. You would get it in the mail. So you go out to your mailbox like you would to get something from Amazon, and there'd be the Medal of Honor saying, thanks for your service, here you go. So a lot has changed since then. Medal of Honor becomes more revered, but nonetheless, we still had 27 Medal of Honor recipients coming out of the state of Iowa. Some other numbers, 76,000 Iowans served, and of those 76,000, 13,000 of them will die. Some important battles Iowa fought in would be Wilson's Creek, Missouri, Pea Ridge, Arkansas, Fort Henry, Fort Donelson, and Shiloh. And then at Shiloh, we're going to be seeing 5 Iowa regiments hold the center of the Union line. And they so ferociously defended this Union line that they were nicknamed by the Confederates as the Hornet's Nest. And they were attacking the Confederates to the point where they said it's just like running into a hornet's nest. And they did this until late into the first day of battle at Shiloh. An important person to note as it relates to the Iowa National Guard is going to be Major General Grenville M. Dodge. So where does that name sound familiar? As I'm going throughout these series, I'll be asking that question a lot, and that's because history is everywhere, and as you think of cities, as you think of locations, they're more likely than not named after someone that's been important in the past, especially the state of Iowa. So as you're thinking about that question, you probably thought of, oh yeah, Camp Dodge. That'd be correct. So Major General Grenville M. Dodge, he is going to be the person that Camp Dodge is named for. And he was a leader, aside from his military career, in many aspects of his life. He was a famous railroad builder. He worked with the Union Pacific Railroad to try to build the line west of Council Bluffs. He also served as a member of Congress, and he was an officer in the Army. He led the 4th Iowa Volunteer Infantry, and he helped to push the Confederates out of northern Missouri. He also led them during the Union's successful victory at the Battle of Pea Ridge. And if you go to Camp Dodge today, you can go and visit the Gold Star Museum, where you can learn more information about Major General Grenville M. Dodge. Another important figure from the state of Iowa, one that is probably less well known, but still very important, is Corporal Voltaire P. Twombly. So Corporal Twombly was well known for his valiant effort at the Battle of Fort Donelson. At the Battle of Fort Donelson, there were 3 color bearers, and a color bearer is someone that would carry the battle flag so that the formation would know where to move. Those 3 color bearers had all been killed before him. Seeing the flag on the ground, he took initiative, picked it up, and carried the flag throughout the rest of the battle, therein leading the troops and helping the Americans to secure a victory at the Battle of Fort Donelson. Twombly was hit himself, but he continued to hold the flag throughout the whole engagement, and he was eventually a Medal of Honor recipient. Wrapping up this conflict, it was very bloody, a lot of chaos going on, and very divisive to the country. Eventually, General Lee will be surrendering at the courthouse at Appomattox on April 9th, 1865. And it was at this point that the South, or the Confederate States, were reabsorbed into the Union to become a part of the U.S. once again. And even though the Confederates reunited with the Union, tensions still existed between the two sides. And we're going to be seeing these tensions play out, some would say, until the Spanish-American War, others would say, even today. So it's important to note that when it comes to history, certain things that have happened in the past usually never totally die out. And you can always see conflict existing or lingering at some point in time, somewhere in U.S. history or any history for that matter. So as we end this lesson, I want you to think about what conflicts from the Civil War do you think had an effect on the U.S. long after this war was over, and how might things have been different had the Union not been able to defeat the Confederacy? What might the world look like today if that was the case? So think about these questions, and thank you for your time, and we will see you in our next video.